Remember that amazing little cafe you discovered last summer? Or that perfect hiking spot you heard about? With the Overlook mobile app, you can create personalized lists of places you've been and want to go, and always see everything on a map. Share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family, or keep your secret spots private for you. The best part? No ads cluttering your lists, and no one selling your interests or travel data. Download the free app at overlookmaps.com and check out overlookmaps.com/Nashville to see some CityCast lists on a map and in your pocket. Overlookmaps.com. Collect and share the places that matter to you. Today on CityCast Nashville, for over 20 years, East Nashville has celebrated one of the quirkiest and most beloved traditions, the Tomato Art Festival. And y'all, it is back this weekend. To help us honor the fruit, or is it a vegetable, that unites, not divides us, we are joined by Missy Hamilton, Director of Gardens and Programs at Bell Garden. She's here to teach us how to grow tomatoes, eat them, and maybe even fall in love with them. It's Thursday, August 7th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Here in Nashville, we celebrate tomatoes for being uniters, not dividers. What makes a tomato a fruit and a vegetable?
An existentialist crisis.
Okay, I love it. That's a great answer. So, full disclosure, I know very little about growing tomatoes, and I did just learn that it's too late. I can't start now. But since it's Tomato Art Fest weekend, I'm inspired for next year. And I don't have a green space, but I do have a cute, tiny little balcony. Where would I even start?
If you're going to grow from pots and prepare for dissertation, if you're going to grow from a pot, you want to make sure that it is, stands to reason, a large pot, because tomatoes do have a large root system and they go deep. My favorite way is, now this is attractive, it's the 2-bucket system. So what you're going to do is you will take like a 5-gallon bucket from, a local big box store. You want 2. It's actually going to be 1 bucket within the other bucket, and that is to hold in the water. And this is how it goes. So with the bucket that you're going to actually put your soil in, you will drill holes in the bottom, fill it to the top with soil. Tomatoes like to be buried deep. Put your tomato in it, and then you take that bucket and put it into another bucket with no holes or anything, and you fill it with water. And the key is the holes will be about 1 inch from the bottom, and therefore it self-waters.
This is good for me because I tend to forget to water. They'll just grow on their own.
Okay, to be honest, they kind of will. With your soil, and the funny thing that we always teach is dirt is what is on the bottom of your shoe. Soil is a living thing. So within your soil, it is very important to have a balance of nutrients. There are wonderful ways that you can DIY your own soil mix. You want to be careful with your nutrients and your fertilization. The most important thing at the beginning for a tomato is nitrogen. That is what makes your roots and your leaves all nice and green and pretty. The second important thing is phosphorus. Phosphorus is what is going to actually make your tomato bloom and get those tomatoes, And then potassium, which I just explained it, that it just makes everything healthy and great. But honestly, putting that tomato in, being nice to it, making sure it gets plenty of sun. Tomatoes do love sun and heat, and you can pretty much just go on with the rest of your day.
Okay. Do I need a cage or something to prop it up as it grows?
You can. So there are 2 types of tomatoes. There's indeterminate and determinate. So the determinate ones, they grow kind of bushy and they pop out all at once like a cherry tomato. And then the indeterminate ones are your slicers, your larger tomatoes, and they can vine all over the place. So that said, on your patio, what I would suggest is any type of a stick, and you can, do they have pantyhose anymore? You can actually use like strips from tights or pantyhose that you've cut up. You want something that's not going to cut into the plant as it grows. So you can stick a stake in it and gently attach it to the stake as it grows up, and you'll be just fine.
Would you recommend starting with the seed or buying like a little baby tomato plant at a nursery or something?
Yes, nursery is the key word. Good answer. Yes. So, starting from seed, tomatoes are surprisingly easy to start. I would suggest for your first tomato experience that you do go and get one from an actual nursery. And I say that because with a nursery, you generally going to have a better idea of what's in your soil versus a big box store where it may say organic, but you're not quite sure what's in it.
Missy, I think you've gotten me excited to grow some tomatoes next year. When can I actually start planting them?
The most important thing with tomatoes and with any kind of gardening is it is straight up science. That's about as woo woo as you're going to get. Well, again, topic for another day. So they're temperature sensitive. You want to make sure that there's ambient temperature, which is air, and then you've got your soil temperature. It's ground. So you want to make sure that your soil temperature, I know you're doing a bucket, is about 60, 65 degrees. That is imperative that they have warmer soil. The trick that I use is I do not plant anything until after Mother's Day.
So I have to just circle back real quick. What woo-woo things are there that I can do to grow bigger tomatoes?
Well,
I'm pretty woo-woo, Missy.
Oh, good. So I love that stuff. So two things, because we're in the South. We have so much knowledge that has come down from the Appalachians. That's one of my favorite things to teach, right? All the woo-woo. So an example of that is planting by the moon. Huh?
Ooh.
Yeah, fancy. And that's also a part of biodynamic gardening. You know, they got to put a word on everything. But other cute little charms and things that you can do just to put love and energy into your plant. And I'll be honest, speak to them, playing music around them. I will definitely say plants respond well to death metal, if you will. And I think from the real woo-woo perspective is treat it like it's a friend. I mean, it is your friend. It's a living thing.
This is beautiful. I'm going to manifest big old tomatoes next year. Well, let's talk more generally. Is Nashville actually a great place to grow tomatoes?
Yes, we are. Let me caveat here. We are in Zone 7B. That's the USDA hardiness zone that tells you pretty much the high and the low temperatures. So we are in Zone 7B, which is great. Our growing season here, again, with putting them in the ground, is May until October, our first freeze day. The issue with Nashville and Tennessee in general is humidity. So with humidity comes disease. One of the tips and tricks that I use is to trim your tomatoes. Some people don't do it. I do it. So we have lots of air circulation. And if we're growing them outside, growing outside, I do not like stakes or cages or any of that. There are certain methods that you can use, like the Florida weave, if you're growing more than one. All kinds of wonderful things, but the trick is to make sure that you're getting plenty of airflow and that you water at the appropriate time. You want to water in the morning, not late at night.
And then are there certain varieties that grow better here than others?
I will say that there is a difference between hybrid and heirloom tomatoes, a lot of times in the timing, definitely in the flavor. So hybrid will grow maybe faster and more disease resistant, whereas an heirloom is going to taste better. They have fancy names, like there's a Boxcar Willie and a Dolly Parton and rainbow tie-dye, and right there is a Dolly Parton tomato. I tend to go for big old slicers. I like them to be, I'm from the South, we make tomato sandwiches. I want the tomato as big as possible. And that is actually one of my quests, to find the biggest, largest, most beautiful tomato within reason.
So you mentioned earlier about the heat. So yes, I've heard over and over again that tomatoes actually don't grow in really hot temperatures. Is that true or false?
Oh, that's true. And I actually teach a class called Totally Tomatoes. Brilliant, I know. And one of the things, that's exactly what people ask the most, like, my plant won't bloom, my tomatoes won't turn red, or My tomatoes have baked. The optimum time for growing tomatoes would be about 85 to 88 degrees. When it gets up into the 90s, as we have recently experienced, the tomato kind of freaks out and it stops producing lycopene, which is what makes them red. So everything will go kind of back to normal once that heat is over. But I definitely think cooking the tomatoes on the vine is the worst. So putting shade cloth over your tomatoes will help them combat the heat as well as protect them from sun scald.
And then how do I know when a ripe tomato is ready to be picked?
There will be a blush. And you will see it go from like green to just a blush, like a tinge of the reddish. And that's when she's ready to go. And the reason that I will encourage people to pick them early, I know, vine ripened tomatoes, is they will ripen on a windowsill, or sometimes I just leave them like on the coffee table. The important thing is to avoid pests and chipmunks and squirrels and birds. Yeah. So you do want to get it before they get it.
Do you have a secret to combat the pests? My mom has been trying chili pepper, but that doesn't work.
Oh, they're like, whatever.
Right.
So to combat the pests, there are three things that I like, possibly more than three. Number one is to have beneficial insects in your garden or in your area that will eat that. They're not bad bugs. They're just bugs that we don't need there. So beneficial insects, and you can use certain pollinators, certain plants that bring in those insects, all the great stuff. The second, we love neem oil. One of your major pests are aphids and some other nasty little things. Neem oil is a wonderful, wonderful organic tool, I guess I could say, that will, and I hate to be ugly, it'll smother them. So by keeping them clean, as I would say, plenty of air circulation, keeping them healthy, bugs love to feast on unhealthy or tired, as I call them, plants. The one that freaks me out, and I'll never get used to it, are the tomato hornworms, for two reasons. You'll have a beautiful tomato, and you wake up one morning and it's naked, and that's the tomato hornworm. And the other thing is, I think they're looking at me. They're big and squishy and gross and yuck.
How long do homegrown tomatoes last? Because I've seen a lot of pictures lately of friends who have way too many to deal with. And should they be refrigerated, or do you just leave them out?
Yes. So first of all and I will never do this, you grow what you can use or you dump them on your neighbor. The second thing is you do not ever put a tomato in the refrigerator. It will make it gross. That is why you pick them early, so you kind of anticipate it. There is a strain that I am using this year. They will store about 2 months after they've been picked, which at Bell Garden, for example, and other places, we donate to local food banks. So that is a game changer. This is my first year growing it, and I will let you know how it goes.
Wow. Wait, so 2 months it'll keep after you pick it off the vine?
Supposedly.
That is cool.
Isn't that cool?
That is
That's
so
a
neat.
big deal. So hopefully they'll taste well. They don't look weird. I'm kind of excited about this.
Me too. So what's your favorite tomato recipe?
Aside from making pasta sauce, and with those you use paste tomatoes like San Marzano, Amish paste, aroma, I have fallen in love with tomato jam. And before I was like, okay, that is gross. Who eats that? It is one of the things that Bell Garden sells in order to fund our wonderful activities. So, of course, I had to taste it, and it is phenomenal. Gosh, and I really love tomatoes. So, okay, I know the favorite recipe. It is a tomato sandwich with white bread and, let's say, mayonnaise, not salad dressing, because that's gross. Big tomatoes and cheese if you're down with it.
I love a good BLT during the summer. Oh my goodness.
Right.
So
and you
good.
just slap the tomato jam on it instead of tomatoes, and it's really good.
What's your favorite mayo?
Anything but Miracle Whip. Gross. So okay, so there's Dukes, which I've
Correct
learned to
answer.
love. Correct, yes. And then Hellman's. And actually, there are some pretty kick butt vegan mayonnaises out there. Like somehow we got vegan mayonnaise right. Who knew?
Just stick with Dukes, folks. What's the deal with fried green tomatoes?
I wish I knew the total history of it. They are fantastic if done right. Like that's a Meemaw thing, like a church lady recipe. I don't know how comfortable I am eating them in a restaurant, but yeah, folks in Nashville have really jumped on those with biscuits and all the things. I don't know if you ever saw the movie many years ago, Fried Green Tomatoes. It's fantastic, and I think that's what started it for me. So it wasn't a part of my family at all, but I really like them.
Lachlan Table has a fried green tomato salad.
Oh, really?
Well, it's just really just like two huge fried green tomatoes on top of lettuce with like the most perfect blue cheese dressing. And I think that they make a tomato jam or something because there's a sweet component to it as well. So you have the sweet and savory, and it's really inexpensive. It's amazing.
Yes. And you had me at blue cheese. That is one of the greatest things in the world. Bless blue cheese.
Well, let's get into Bell Garden. So you are the director of gardens and programs at Bell Garden. And for listeners at home, Bell, Bell, is all caps. What does it stand for?
It stands for the Bellevue Edible Learning Lab. The garden is actually an acre, and it is located on the campus of Bellevue Middle School. And we are Nashville's largest and longest running hybrid now school and community garden. So it was started by some folks in the community who, after a trip to California and seeing some awesome things, wanted to open up a space where students could learn how their food is grown. There are two things that I love. Number one, I love walking into a room of 37 seventh graders that are in a quote garden club, end quote, because they didn't want to go to PE. However, it's crazy. They will come in and they'll be like, ha, harumph, trying to talk, all the things. And I use my mom face as a disciplinary tool, which is phenomenal. I'll show you one day. And it's so interesting because at the end of the class, or maybe later on, they'll come up and they'll start asking questions, say, well, I want to grow this, or how do I grow this? And that's really cool. My favorite thing to do is I work with adults and youth with disabilities, and I work with students. We are beginning a trauma garden program, which we're very careful with that one. And then a mommy and me. So what I do there is I create learning areas in the garden. And by that, let's say we want to teach growing a salsa garden, or more interestingly, like an international garden, bringing in plants, vegetables from all over. I really enjoy using the garden to begin with, of course, seed to table for our folks that may have sensory issues like hypo or hypersensitive. There is a design to the garden where depending on how they feel, they can either touch and touch and touch, or there are places for them to sit if they're overstimulated. So really, it's all about growing and designing the garden, again, such that it's conducive to a learning environment. And the other piece of it, because I love social and work-based training, being able to use the facilities to have students grow their own tomatoes and work through the process, for example, and at the end, selling them at our Bellevue picnic every year.
So from seed to being sold.
Right? Get your money.
Get your money. I love that. I was so sad to hear that y'all were vandalized earlier this year. Would you mind speaking to that? What happened and how you're doing?
Oh, yes. So picture it. We have wonderful exceptional education students from Lawson. They're all in the garden ready to start their class. And I went, rolling up to the portable. And you know how you look at something and it just doesn't quite look right? Your brain is like, something's not here. Well, it would have been the lack of windows and the glass all over the place. So I walked in and it was unbelievable. It was also odd. We are not quite sure. They never did catch the people that did it. I like to say, obviously, they were uncomfortable, but they really trashed everything and put some odd things in some odd places. The only thing that was left alone were the canned and jarred things that we sell to, keep the lights on. But I cried from just the shock, and I'm not much of a crier, but the shock and the hurt of the like, why? Why? If you wanted something or if you needed anything, I mean, one of our main goals outside of education is to donate to local food banks. We would have done anything to help you. So, yeah, that level of destruction was shocking. Now, here's the cool thing. Of course, they put me crying on the news. The next day, we had about 120 people, 120 people come from all over. They brought new seeds, they brought equipment, everything. And again, see, I'll cry now. I can't help it.
Oh, I'm getting emotional. This is beautiful.
Yeah. And it's the fact that we hear so much going on in the news and all this hibbity jibbity. And it's important to remember that people are still, they're good. They want community. And that's one of the reasons that actually Segway Bell is, I call it a hybrid school and community garden. During COVID, I noticed that people were kind of wandering around, we're next to the track. And we began inviting them in. And let me tell you, working in 100-degree temperature in a mask is a real hoot. But the trick to that is, and the reason that we are so sustainable is because not only do we work with the schools, but we have wonderful volunteers who help us keep it running year round. We're actually all volunteers. Nobody is paid there.
This is what's so amazing about Nashville is that, we have these slogans of like Nashville Strong and I believe in Nashville. And we actually just launched this membership program simply to get to know our neighbors better. So tell our new CityCast Nashville neighbors what we can do all together. What kinds of help are you looking for?
Oh, I am going to keep this short. So we have our executive director, Deborah Stillwell, manages the volunteers. We make it happen. So there is, let's see, washing containers, sterilizing containers, moving wood chips, building beds, starting seeds, watering plants. I mean, you name it. We do it separating seeds. I mean, come up with anything gardening or near it, and you're going to do it. Now, we all have our different leadership styles. So if you're volunteering with me, my main focus is always going to be on educating you as to what you're doing, why you're doing it. You will always walk away with a skill. And some other folks are just straight up labor. So if you have, quote, muscle, end quote, you'll be turning the compost, digging holes. I love to have people dig holes, but it takes an incredible amount of help. And we do love our volunteers, as long as the volunteers bring snacks.
Well, Missy, this has just been such a lovely conversation about how tomatoes unite us all and bring our community together, which is exactly what the Tomato Art Fest is all about. Will we see you there?
You will probably hear me first. So I've lived here all my life. I mean, we try to make it every year because there's sometimes I'm like, how did you connect that to a tomato? But somehow you did. And I have tomato activewear. This year I was thinking about getting a big formal red dress and being like the queen of tomatoes or beauty pageant. Somehow we'll figure that one out. But I love it. And I do love, again, people coming to, I mean, granted, I think there's beer there as well, but everyone coming together, for the love of the fruit, formerly known as the tiger peach. So.
Wow, Missy. Wow, I've laughed. I've cried. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you at the festival.
Excellent. Thank you so much for thinking of us. We really appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. We'll see you at the Tomato Art Festival. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!